I must admit, this feels weird. Just reviewing a basic Cars 1 version of Lightning McQueen? I mean, the task almost feels too big, too daunting for me. How could anyone do the center of the Cars universe, Mr. McQueen himself, justice? Is it even possible? But then I realized Lightning McQueen has feelings too. Lightning McQueen has a Thailand variant too, just like anyone else who we've reviewed the Thailand variants of, or even versions of McQueen himself, like the Vietnam version of Finish Line Lightning McQueen, the Thailand version of Tumbleweed McQueen just last month, Road Repair Lightning McQueen, Spin Out Lightning McQueen, Cactus Lightning McQueen, and the list goes on, and it will continue, for example, in a couple months here with Lightning McQueen with Shovel, his first time being released from Thailand in 2025. So we cannot shy away from this. No task is too big for us here on the Mr. Docket channel. We cannot neglect any version of Lightning McQueen. So here we are. He deserves his flowers too. I'm really excited for this, actually. Just treating McQueen like anyone else, starting from the ground up and rediscovering what makes him so iconic, so eye-catching, and probably one of the best Piston Cup racers, maybe just indisputably the best. We'll get into all of that, guys. But yes, this is actually the 2025 version of him. I wanted to do this completely up to date. So, even if you might have seen a version of Thailand McQueen on my channel in the past, that's an older version. This is the brand spanking new 2025 release, as you can see by the card back here, featuring other 2025 characters like Davey Apex, Sally, Billy, Oil Changer, Sheriff, Slim Hood, and Fillmore. Now, obviously, we know Slim Hood should not be here because this is a Cars 1 card back, and Slim Hood is a Cars 3 character, but we've already addressed that blemish. But looking at the front of the package here, it is really nostalgic to see this card art, this pose of McQueen, this animation, this rendering still in use after all these years. You can really side by side compare this 2025 version to the 2006 Desert single release of him, and just to see the evolution is really special, really cool. Obviously, next year will be even better because there'll be an exact 20-year difference. We'll see what they do with the anniversary. Hopefully something really cool, really awesome. But yes, just, this in and of itself is great. And yeah, let's rip them open. What else do we have to do? Here is Mr. McQueen all opened up, looking great, looking really shiny, and like we do with everyone else, there he is in Cars 1. It'd be really cool actually to see this paint job return outside of just a flashback like we did see it in Cars 3. I'd really like to see him just bring it back. No excuse needed. I mean, it's a perfectly fine Rust-eze paint job and doesn't look outdated to me at all. So yeah, I thought, hey, bring it back if McQueen ever appears in something in the future. We don't know if there will be any more Cars media. I sure hope so. I sure think so. Obviously, Cars 4 is asking a lot. I think a short, maybe a Cars on the Road Season 2 is a lot more doable, a lot more feasible right now, but it is really up in the air. Lots of unknowns. Just feel like, though, with Incredibles 3 being announced, all these sequels that we've announced over the last couple months, in D23 and all that, would really like to think that Cars 4 should be on the horizon, but, who knows, really, at this point. Now, I have said in the past, completely getting off that subject, that if you're at the store, which you very well could be in this scenario, and you see this Cars 1 Lightning McQueen, and you also see a Rust-eze, or a Lightning McQueen with Rust-eze sign, I should say, they are the exact same diecast. Just the sign version, obviously comes with the sign. So you're paying the exact same price. Buy the version with the sign, you get the cool plastic accessory along with the same diecast. Now, for this video, I wanted to just do the regular version. Don't cloudy or muddy the waters. just keep it simple. I wanted to look at the card art, which is different on the Rusty Sign version anyways. But hey, I mean, just practically speaking, if you're in that situation, get the Rusty Sign version. You're doing yourself a favor. Don't think the expression's different or anything of that nature. So I have a couple original Cars 1 McQueens I want to compare this guy to. I have a more modern version with the flat eyelids, plastic tires, and then I have a raised eyelids version. This is actually the 2010 rubber tire version of him. So I actually want to compare him to this. It's a little bit more authentic, a little bit more in the weeds, whereas this is one of the newer versions that has come out relative to everything. And yeah, even that is the 289th day of 2013. So that's not even that quote unquote new, but it does have the flat eyelids, which started, right around 2014. This one, on the other hand, is the 193rd day of 2010. So a lot older. I mean, I guess it really isn't all that much older than the 2013 produced version, but yeah, this was a 2010 release versus that being a 2014 release. So yeah, I just want to do this one because this is how McQueen looked for the majority of his tenure from China. So you can see, what did they really change here? Well, they made the eye plate they made the eyes a plate, a separate plastic piece inserted there, whereas before it was a part of the main metal body. So a little unfortunate there, but maybe you like it. Maybe it provides to you a little bit more depth, a little bit more realism to the expression. I do think it does. The black outline around the eyelids there and a little bit more depth between the windshield and the frame of the vehicle, I do think makes him look a little bit more realistic, but maybe that's not really what you're going for. So I can see both sides of it. The shade of red's also a little bit brighter. It's not as dull. I think it's a little bit more vibrant, which I like. The models, they kind of painted the inside between the teeth there, like I would like to say a dark red, but it really does look black to me. I guess it looks better than just red in between, which is not what it should be. It's not what the inside of a mouth would probably look like, but would it be black? I don't know. I mean, maybe he was munched on some black licorice. I don't know. We're not going to speculate too much about what's going on inside McQueen's mouth. Let's move on to the hood here and the beautiful Rust-eze logo. Now, unfortunately, I really do think that Thailand has struggled with this logo in particular. Like every time I see it, it's like an ugh. And it really is just the fuzziness, not as crisp as it was from China there. And the additional text, the medicated there on top, bumper ointment, rear end formula, is not as clear as it used to be. It's a little bit of a lighter, brighter logo as well. I mean, it gets the job done, don't get me wrong, but I think the Chinese version definitely looks better. You got his iconic bolts there on the side. Those are hard to screw up. Now, I'll tell you right away, the worst part of Thailand Lightning McQueen is the wheels. It's the wheels pretty much from any angle that's not direct on. And you can see, we've talked about this before with cars with wheels like this, where whatever they use to paint these is incapable of really getting in to the nitty-gritty there, really getting in and spraying the inner walls of the wheels, leaving this sandpaper texture, kind of grainy, bubbly, incomplete, showing through some white specks. However you want to describe it, you can see it there on both wheels. You can see it on both sides, however you want to spin it. If you're looking at it clear on like this, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty authentically red. But from the side, not as great. And it really bothers me, honestly, that they have not figured that out after all these years. It's way worse to me than even the blurry decals here that we kind of see with the contingency sponsors. You can see how, you could tell what everyone says. And maybe it's because I'm familiar with all these. I know that bottom one is clutch 8 and then retread, the RPM. Maybe you wouldn't fully catch some of those if you aren't familiar with them, because yeah, they are pretty blurry, but that's in contrast to the Chinese version here, which is really immaculate, really crisp. And hey, those bottom ones aren't great either, I will say, but they are slightly better, I think. I don't think they're quite as muddled as the Thailand version. That's always been an issue with Thailand. Now, despite the Chinese version having a duller shade of red than the Thailand version, I think the Thailand version has a duller shade on the bolt. I mean, this front portion of it isn't really even a pure yellow like you see here on the Chinese version. It's a little bit more of a lighter orangish corn flavored corn. Yeah, I know it's a weird way to describe it, but it's not as like lemon drop pure concentrated yellow that you see here. So just take notice of that. I definitely prefer the bolt on the Chinese version for sure. I think the gas cap though looks better on the Thailand version, a little bit more dialed in there with the gray dot here. It's like the gray speck that they put on there doesn't really cover the entire indentation of the gas cap. I just don't think it looks quite as good. And there you can also see the darker Rust-eze logo versus the lighter one that we investigated on the hood. Now taking a look here at the roofs, you can see 95, 95, Lightning McQueen signature. Now I do think the signature on the Thailand version looks a little bit better. Like it's a little bit more spread out and it looks, I think the problem actually with the Chinese version that has a slight red outline around the yellow, and that just doesn't look right. Like, why would that be there? Not really sure. It's like a slightly darker red than the main color of McQueen, so it stands out. It just looks kind of goofy. It looks out of place. Here, it just flows a little bit more because there's no red background to it. So, yeah, that's a plus for Thailand. You got your window bars there painted red. The windows are both pretty much transparent. You're looking into the interior pieces there. You got the Rust-eze logo on the wing or the spoiler there, a little bit lighter on the Thailand version, not as yellow. So yeah, yellow proving to be a color that Thailand is struggling with. And on the back here, my Chinese version here, the decal, that Medicaid bumper ornament stripe there on the bumper is a little awry on the right side there. It doesn't really go all the way to the end. So yeah, look at Thailand, got it purely on. So those are the questions you got to ask yourself in terms of these trade-offs. Hey, I prefer those silver latches compared to these gray ones. Silver is better than gray in my opinion, but maybe the way they do it now with Thailand ensures a higher quality control, so you won't have awry decals misplaced like that, So you got to think about all that stuff too. Obviously, we'll never know, and we only, can compare this to what was with China, and that's, where a lot of the criticism comes from. But that's just how it goes. T34A means he was produced during the 34th week of 2024 at the A factory. He has the holes on either side of him, so he can be towed by the mater with working tow hook. The copyright is 2021 here. Why is that? Well, because that was the year that they copyrighted this base, when this base was being produced with the hooks, because we have to remember the first time that mater with the working tow hook came out was in early 2022 in a 2-pack with that road repair Lightning McQueen that I showed you earlier in the video. So a little history lesson for you there. But yeah, good stuff all around. I do want to show you a little bit more of the rubber tire action here. They don't, these are very firm rubber tires. They're not as rubbery as I remember some of the Piston Cup racers from 2009 being I know Mood Springs, much more rubbery feeling than these ones were in 2010. That's just kind of how the technology was updated over time, unfortunately. But, that, even translates to, the rubber tire versions of Cruz Ramirez, Chick Hicks, Jackson Storm, and Cal Weathers that they did in 2018. All right. And again, this is your 2014 release of Lightning McQueen, where he's got the flat windshield. Here, the eyelid is actually raised above the whites of the eyes, and that's how all Piston Cup racers were until 2014, and they started converting them over into just a flat windshield. And ultimately, from Thailand, this is what we get with the plate, which is also flat. So the evolution there of Lightning McQueen, pretty fascinating. Now, it is kind of interesting, I will say. You look here at the 2010 version, the Thailand version, both have a blemish in the exact same spot there on the spoiler. You can see on the left side there, like a little crinkle in the paint. And yep, you have that exact same thing on the Thailand version. That's very strange. Completely maybe coincidental, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's a weakness in the mold. Who knows? But that is all I have for you guys. I mean, I guess what the hell, we can show you a couple of these other Thailand versions of McQueen. It is funny though, like this tumbleweed version has the windshield part of the main metal body. It's not an eye plate, so kind of a interesting distinction there. But Road Repair Lane McQueen, it was a separate plastic piece there. So it really just depends on the McQueen. This one's a part of the main metal body. Cactus McQueen, a part of the main metal body. This one came out just about a year ago now. I do hope to eventually get my hands on a Thailand version of Finish Line Lightning McQueen and review that for you, because this Vietnam version is atrocious, with the mouth plate there being a completely different shade of red than the rest of them. Just so bad, and the eyes look just disgusting. So I want to get that taste out of my mouth. Hopefully the Thailand version's better, but the Thailand version is certainly very, very rare. So getting my hands on one is no small feat. But yeah, thank you guys as always for watching. Over the years, we've gotten just bamboozled with so many Lightning McQueen accessories. Remember these cardboard boxes that came with the Walmart haulers. You have your tool carts. You have the oil jugs from advent calendars. You have your pit stop barrier. You have your accessory 2-pack cone and flag. You have your accessory 2-pack sticker back here. You got, well, this is a 3D printed custom Rust-eze Medicated bumper ointment can from Jave's house, the same customizer that did the clutch home bolt that I reviewed about a month ago now. So that's really cool. They did actually, Mattel did do a can like this in 2010, but this one's better for obvious reasons. You have the Pity, My Name's Not Chuck. Really good looking tires there. And Mr. Mac is over here. They actually are doing the Cars 1 version of Mac this year for the haulers line, which is awesome because they've just been doing the Cars 3 version, the Cars 2 version over the last couple years. So that was a long video for Cars 1 McQueen, but there was a lot to unpack there. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you soon for another video. Bye now.